My friends, during this past midwinter school recess, which was towards the middle of February, my family, that is my sister and my niece, husband, and their children, came to visit me here in Connecticut. And on a very beautiful, crisp Saturday afternoon, we found ourselves at the Trumbull Mall. Now, I must confess, I do not like shopping, but they do. And the only way I was enticed to come was the promise of an early dinner at the Cheesecake Factory. So, we arrived. I found myself a very comfortable seat where I sat down, and they went off to do their shopping. And as I sat there, and for lack of a better word, just people watched as people came back and forth here and there, a very strange question popped into my mind, echoing one of the most ancient documents in our tradition as Christians. An ancient writer once asked this question: how can you tell what distinguishes a Christian from everyone else? The question came out of the blue, but it haunted me as I sat there, because as people came by, I wondered to myself, well, whether they were Christian or not, because there is no distinguishing mark for you and I who are believers in Jesus. We don't speak a common language. We don't wear a distinctive dress. We don't have common customs. We come from every race and language on earth. So how do you know if someone is a Christian or not? Then the answer the ancient writer proposes began to make even greater sense to me. And it is something that I think helps us to understand what Jesus is teaching us in the gospel. He begins with the insight that you and I as believers in the Lord are called to be in the world, but not of the world. And that which separates us from the world is the indwelling of the Holy Spirit, who allows us to love as God desires us to love. And that, my friends, is all the difference. Not to love the way we want to love, not to love the way the world wants us to love, but the way God intends us to love, in His image, in His way. Concretely, what that means is that a Christian is a woman or man who recognizes the sovereignty of God in his or her life, that recognizes the presence of sin, that there is a law greater than your or my making. And we seek forgiveness when we sin, because the happiness and joy that should distinguish us from the world can come from no one else but God in Jesus Christ. So the love of God impels us to live as He asks us to live. And because we now await the gift of the Spirit, we have already celebrated Ascension. The Lord gives us the mission to be what? To be His lovers in the world. So to help establish this kingdom He began in His earthly life. To live Matthew 25 each day, 1,000 times each day. To clothe those who have no clothing. To feed the hungry. To give drink to the thirsty, to visit the sick and imprisoned, to be able, through our ordinary acts in our own families and wherever we work and wherever we go, to be a person of genuine sacrifice, mercy, kindness, patience, forgiveness. For you see, a Christian is in the world to be a light in darkness, to be hope where there is despair, to be love when the world wants us to do something else. And even though at an ordinary glance, it may not be evident who perhaps is a Christian, but if we look more than a glance, if we look into one's eyes, into one's smile, into the joy that radiates from one's heart, from the disposition of an entire life, of the readiness to love without counting the cost. There you will find the Christian. There she or he will shine like a candle lit in a dark room. It's funny, that evening after everyone went to bed and I offered my prayers, something else came randomly to mind. It was my first Holy Communion, of all things. And the meditation hymn we were taught to sing. It's a hymn perhaps those of you who are a bit older will recognize. It goes like this. They will know we are Christians by our love, by our love. They will know we are Christians by our love.